First, we give an introduction to the basic structure of this machine. This machine is an all-in-one model, which is divided into 4 major areas: spray zone, preheat zone, welding zone, and cooling zone. The total length of the whole machine is 700 mm. The direction of the machine is left to right. This is the entrance side. The maximum board width of this model is 610 mm. The front entrance is a cleaning device for spray area. Clean the chain and the spray area regularly. Make sure that the surface of the chain is clean and smooth. This part is the spray area, and the exhaust device mainly discharges the residual mist to ensure the cleanliness of the equipment. Above it, there are 2 filters. During maintenance, we pick up the filter and take it out for cleaning. Below it, there is a filter device on the left and right respectively. Which can ensure that the atomized flux is in the sprayed area. And prevent overflow and pollution of the equipment. This is the regulating gas valve that controls the air pressure of the spray needle valve. And the other is the regulating gas valve of the atomizer. The spray device adopts American 3-fluid atomizing spray gun. The fluxer is controlled by a high-precision quantitative pump. The flow control of the quantitative pump is controlled by a high-precision quantitative pump. The transport motor in the spray section and the transport motor in the preheating zone. The preheating area is divided into the hot air preheating on the top and for infrared preheating on the bottom. The following is short-wave infrared stainless steel heating tube. Section 1 to 3 are the same. The 4th section is an infrared glass heating tube. between the temperature zones. We use high-temperature wind curtains for isolation to ensure temperature stability and nitrogen concentration fluctuations. After passing through the preheating zone, the welding area of this model uses two spoiler waves with multiple rows of holes. At the entrance of the solder pot, there is a pair of high-temperature fibers. He is used to detect before the PCB board enters the solder pot to calculate its location. Above the solder pot, there is a nitrogen sampling tube. This sampling tube collects the nitrogen concentration above the solder pot area, and there are two nitrogen nanotubes on its left and right. They are the main pipes for flushing nitrogen inside the machine. Our welding area adopts the chain clod transportation mode, which is V-shaped and L-shaped structure, which can ensure the stability of the board and the stability during welding. After passing through the soldering zone, the substrate enters the cooling zone. Then the downhill section of the second half belongs to the cooling zone. There is this high-temperature sealing strip between the glass door observation window and the frame at the upper end of the equipment. This sealing strip is mainly used for sealing, and the nitrogen concentration in the tunnel ensures that the nitrogen will not leak. Above the equipment, these two exhaust ducts mainly remove the flue gas generated in the preheating zone. The above is a high-temperature motor that circulates hot air, and 6 pipes are distributed above the welding area. The role of this pipeline is mainly for nitrogen recovery. It is centered on the solder pot, front, middle, and back. Two tubes on each block are discharged from this tube through the filter device at the back. And then return to this tube for a cycle. There are 3 modules at the same time, all work the same. The last four exhaust pipes are used to remove the exhaust gas generated in the rear section. This one is our nitrogen recovery device. The following is the water cooling mechanism of the nitrogen recovery device. Open the lid and you can see the water tank. The water tank should be filled with ordinary tap water for water cooling cycle before using the new machine. There is also a liquid detector at this position to detect the height of the water level. When the water level is lower than this level, it will alarm. These mechanical structures are roughly divided into several pieces. The other is the electronic control part. The computer host of the electronic control part is arranged in the direction of the entrance of the machine. Then its open button is this one to open. Above is the power switch and lighting switch. This is the computer console. The main control box is located on the back of the machine. The group of electric boxes is divided into several parts. This one is the main airlock. Next, we will introduce the functions of some devices of the equipment. This is the main air brake, and the main power switch of the entire machine. This one is the over-temperature protection of the solder pot. This is a 48-volt power switch. The second is the power switch for the solder pot heating. So, all of our switches have signs on them. At the back end, These last ones have a phase sequence protector. It alarms the phase sequence of the power supply. Ultra high voltage, low voltage, and lack of phase, and will cut off all control power supplies. These 5 at the back are insurance. These are insurance, and the back one is a spare socket. This is the power source for some alarms. The 2,4V quantitative pump power supply. The last one is the 4,8V power supply, which supplies power to the transportation motor, which is the spray section transportation motor. Then, the second row is the AC contactor. The first is the control power supply of the inverter. The second is the motor for nitrogen recovery, that is the motor for water circulation that pumps liquid. The third and fourth are the power sources for solder pot heating. The seventh and ninth are control power supplies for preheating. The following section is the PLC control module. Mainly control the movement of the entire machine. The first one is the main PLC control module. The latter two are expansion modules. And the last one is the temperature control module. Here is the inverter at the bottom. The first one is wave crest 1, and the second is a wave crest 2. This driver is a quantitative pump, which mainly controls the flux of flux. This is the x-axis, and this is the controller of the transport section. This servo motor is the controller of the y-axis. Here are the 4 inverters. Preheating motor. Solder pot transportation motor. Cooling transportation motor, and the last one is hot air motor. This controller is an intermediate relay. Then these relays will have logos affixed to them. We can correspond to the brands according to this logo or circuit diagram and check his position. Then these two contactors are tracks, which are adjusted the width of the tracks. The other is the exhaust fan. The last three are overcurrent protectors, corresponding to the exhaust motor. Nitrogen recovery motor, track widening motor, here has its set value, you can set it. In the latter, these solid states are solid state. Controllers for solder pot heating and preheating heating. Controllers for solder pot heating and preheating heating.